In the 1950s, near a big desert in California, there was a small, quiet town called Victory. This town was made for people who worked for a secret company. Everything in the town looked perfect. Clean homes, smiling families, and calm streets. Every morning, the men went to work at the company building, which was outside the town. The women stayed home. They cooked, cleaned, and even went to dance classes taught by a lady named Shelley. The women were not allowed to know what the men did at work. They were also not allowed to go near the company building. One of the couples living in Victory was Alice and Jack. They loved each other very much. They enjoyed their time together and often had parties with friends like Bunny and her husband. When Alice did her chores, she would hum a song, but she didn't remember where she had learned it. Sometimes the ground shook a little like a small earthquake, but no one ever talked about it. Alice once asked Jack about the shaking and if it had anything to do with his job. Jack didn't explain, and Alice didn't ask again. One day, after dance class, Alice and Bunny saw workers wearing red helping a new neighbor move in. While watching, they talked about Margaret, a woman from their group who missed class again. Margaret had been acting strange for a while, and now people stayed away from her. Later, when Alice was working in her garden, she saw Margaret standing in her yard. She was holding a small toy plane and looked like she was dreaming with her eyes closed. Alice thought it was odd, but went back to getting dinner ready. That night, she found that all the eggs in her carton were empty. She was confused, but she soon got distracted when dinner started burning. A few days later, there was a party at Shelley's house. While Alice was enjoying the party, she hummed the same song again. Bunny asked her to stop. That's when Alice realized she didn't even know the name of the song. When she thought about the song, strange pictures flashed in her mind. But Bunny pulled her away, and she forgot about it. Then the party was interrupted when Shelley and her husband Frank arrived. Frank was the boss of the Victory Company. They welcomed the new neighbors. But suddenly, Margaret showed up. She began asking questions that made everyone uncomfortable. Her husband quickly took her away. After that, Frank spoke to the guests again, talking about how their town was a safe and better place. Alice felt worried, so she went to see Margaret. She found Margaret at home while her husband gave her some medicine. Margaret tried to warn Alice that something bad was going on and that she was having scary dreams. But her husband closed the door before she could say more. Back at the party, Alice found Jack inside Frank's private room, fixing his clothes. Then Frank came in and stared at them without saying anything. He left after a while. Alice never talked about it again. The next day, Alice went shopping with her friends. They talked about Margaret again. Some said she had changed after an accident. But Bunny reminded them that Margaret had walked into the desert with her child, which broke the town's only rule. Margaret saw something strange and was never the same after that. When they found her, her child was gone, and she was holding only a toy plane. Margaret believed someone took her child, but no one believed her. While they talked, the ground shook again, but no one paid attention. Some women wondered if the men were building dangerous things, like weapons, but Bunny told them to stop thinking like that. That night, Alice had scary dreams. The next day, she took the town trolley to relax. But instead of getting off at her usual stop, she stayed on to enjoy the desert view. The driver thought it was strange. Then, Alice saw something in the sky. It looked like a toy plane falling and crashing into the desert. She wanted to help, but the driver said he couldn't take her there. So, Alice got out and walked into the desert by herself. After a long walk, she found a hill with a road going around it. At the top, there was a big dome-shaped building. She touched its glass surface, and right away, her body started shaking. She saw scary images in her mind and heard a voice. Then everything went black. When she opened her eyes, she was back in bed. Jack was in the kitchen cooking for her. He said she was already home when he got back. Alice remembered the crash, but Jack said there was no crash and no one else saw it. Alice was confused and tried to forget. Later, while cleaning, Alice saw the wall move and push her toward the window. She panicked, but suddenly everything was normal again. Then the phone rang. It was Margaret. She asked if Alice had seen what she did and said they were being lied to. Alice got upset and ended the call, but she kept thinking about it. At her next dance class, Alice looked in the mirror and saw Margaret copying her moves. Suddenly, Margaret hit her head on the glass. Alice screamed, but when she turned around, Margaret was gone. No one else noticed anything. Alice rushed home and saw Margaret standing on a roof. Alice tried to help, but Margaret jumped. Before Alice could react, red-uniformed men arrived and took Margaret away. That evening, Alice told Jack everything, but he didn't believe her. Margaret's husband said she was okay and in a hospital. Everyone said it was just an accident. Alice felt like no one believed her and like she was losing her mind. She begged Jack to tell her the truth about his job in the town. Jack got angry and said she should stop asking where they might lose everything. That night, Alice stayed awake and had another scary vision. She saw herself sinking into water, just like when the wall had pushed her. Then, she blinked and found herself standing at the window with no idea how she got there. The next day, while wrapping food, her hands moved on their own and started wrapping her body in plastic. She quickly stopped and took it off. She was breathing hard and realized something was wrong with her mind. Soon, Jack brought a doctor named Collins to check on her. He said Alice was just stressed after seeing Margaret jump. When Alice tried to explain what she saw, the doctor said sometimes the mind plays tricks on us. He offered her medicine to help, but Alice and Jack both said no. Alice notices some papers about Margaret in his bag. She asks what happened to her. The doctor says Margaret had serious mental problems that made life hard for her husband. Because of that, he lost his job, and Margaret was sent away for treatment. When the doctor leaves, he forgets his briefcase. Alice quickly grabs it and looks inside for answers. But the doctor comes back fast, so Alice pretends she was handing it to him. He doesn't suspect anything. After he leaves again, it turns out Alice kept some files. But when she opens them, all the pages are blacked out. Angry and sad, she throws them into the fire. Still thinking about Margaret, Alice drinks to calm down. In the bath, her mind drifts again. She sees scary images, but also soft memories of a loving couple. Jack comes home and plays music. He brings up the idea of starting a family. Alice says she'll think about it. That night, they go to a fancy dinner at Frank's house. Frank is the head of Victory. Alice sees him watching her and feels nervous. A dancer performs, reminding Alice of her visions. She gets emotional and wants to leave, but Jack stays as Frank starts a speech. He announces Jack's promotion. While everyone cheers, Alice runs to the bathroom in tears. She sees another vision and gets more upset. Bunny finds her and scolds her for ruining things and acting selfish. Alice tries to stay calm and act normal. Later, Jack hosts a dinner party and invites Frank and Shelley. While Alice is cooking, Frank enters the kitchen and says she's interesting. He says he respects people who challenge him. At dinner, Alice surprises everyone by sitting at the main seat across from Frank. Then she starts asking questions about everyone's past. She points out how all their stories sound alike and says Victory is hiding the truth. Jack tries to stop her, but Frank lets her continue. Alice tells everyone that the world they live in is fake. Frank stays calm and says Alice is sick like Margaret. He also hints that Alice entered his private room. Shelley defends her husband and says Alice is making a scene. The guests start leaving. As Jack opens the door, Frank gives Alice a cold look and says he expected better. Alone, Jack gets angry and says Alice ruined everything. Alice says she never meant to hurt him. She just wants to leave and fix things. Jack finally agrees. Alice packs quickly and gets in a car with Jack. But as soon as she does, Jack says sorry. Men in red uniforms appear and pull her out. Jack stands nearby, crying as Alice begs for help. She's taken to a hospital and given electric shock treatment. In pain, she sees more visions. This time, she sees her real life. She and Jack live in modern times. Jack had lost his job, and Alice worked long hours at a hospital. Their life was tough, and Jack became distant. He spent nights listening to Frank's podcast, which talked about men needing to take back control. In Victory, Alice wakes up in the hospital. The doctor says she's better now. She goes back to her routine, and everything seems normal again. One night, Jack comes home singing the same strange song. This time, Alice remembers the full lyrics. She also remembers being dragged somewhere in her real body. It's revealed that Victory is a computer simulation. Jack had joined a project that let men live in a perfect fake world with the women they loved. In real life, Alice was connected to a machine, trapped inside the simulation all day. Jack only joined after work. His low-paying job helped pay for the setup. Other men in Victory did the same. Inside the simulation, Alice faints as she realizes the truth. She demands to know why Jack did this. Jack says he just wanted them to be happy again. But Alice is angry. Jack took away her freedom and made her think she was sick. He also tells her the children in Victory aren't real. Jack begs for forgiveness and hugs her tightly. Alice breaks free and hits him with a glass object. Jack dies in real life because dying in the simulation is real. Frank gets a call about Jack's death. Bunny goes to Alice's house and finds Jack's body. She tells Alice she already knew the truth but stayed in Victory because her real-life children were gone. This was the only place she could still be with them. Bunny warns Alice to go to headquarters and disconnect herself. Alice runs outside. Streetlights flicker, and people notice something's wrong. The men in red chase her, but Bunny helps her escape. Alice jumps into a car and drives away fast. The men follow in other cars. Even the doctor joins the chase. But Alice avoids them, and the cars crash. Back in town, Frank is dead, and Shelley is in charge. Alice drives to the hill, but the car gets stuck. She jumps out and runs. The red men follow, but Alice pushes herself and reaches the dome. As she runs, memories of Jack, real and fake, come back. She sees an image of Jack trying to stop her, but now she remembers everything. She touches the glass wall, throws her head back, and sees flashes of her real life. Then everything turns dark.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.